About 18 months ago, Janet and Kate, who were sitting on the front row, stalwarts of the Chesterfield Women's Action Group back in X485, they said, "Colin, will you help us put something on for the 40th anniversary of the miners' strike?" In the summer, the spring summer last year, I came up into this room to see an exhibition that Chesterfield Museum Service had put on, which was the Chesterfield during lockdown exhibition. And came and had a look around, and I thought, outside of COVID and the Second World War, I can't think of anything that touched the lives of more people in North Derbyshire than the miners' strike. So why can't we have an exhibition in the Market Hall Assembly Rooms for the miners' strike? And so I approached the council, who have been fantastic in letting us use these rooms for the whole of the month of March in order to stage this exhibition. So thanks very much to Janet and Kate for the idea. And I hope that I've done them proud. And the person who's really done them proud is Greg Burnell of Bolsover District Council, because when I came here with a whole host of photographs, a whole load of material, I said, how are we going to put this into an exhibition? And Greg, whose father was a miner, has not just done this as a job of work, he's done it as a passion. And he's made an exhibition that I think when you come and see it in its full glory, you'll appreciate. But he's made an exhibition that we can all be proud of. And he's made it in such a way that when we finished in March in Chesterfield, we'll be able to fold it up, stick it into bags, bring everything together, and then we're taking it off to Brimington in April. We've got it in Bolsover in August, and we're hoping to take it to Claycross, Staveley, Eckington, and to Shirebrook. And anyone else who wants to come and ask about its possibility of having it, so we can make sure that the whole year is marked. We're not just commemorating the past and celebrating the past, we're also trying to help people today. Everyone who comes to the exhibition is offered help and support if they need help through the cost of living crisis, to have benefits checks, to make sure they're getting all that they're entitled to see them through these hard times. But we're not just looking back, this is a celebration. It's a celebration of community and solidarity. There is only one community, I believe, that could have sustained the strike for a year, and that's the mining community. So we're going to start today's launch with a song.
There is power in the union, there is power in the land, power in the hands of every worker. But it all amounts to nothing if together we don't stand. There is power in a union, the union's forever defending our rights. Down with the black label workers unite, with our brothers and our sisters in many far-off lands. There's power in a union. Well, the lessons of the past were all learned with workers' blood. The mistakes of the bosses we must pay for. From the city and the farmland, the trench is full of mud. Wars are to be the bosses' answer. The union forever descends.
Burrows, who was treasurer of the Dormitory Annual Land during 1984-85.
In the room, that's the reason we didn't have anyone to step on. I think what we need to remember first of all is the fact that these sort of exhibitions don't put themselves on. Collins mentioned the people that's helped him to put this together. We need to recognise that Collinghampton and the staff and the volunteers at the Derbyshire Unemployed Workers Centres have worked extremely hard to get this thing together, and these don't organise themselves. The Unemployed Workers Centres at this point in time are struggling for cash because the local authorities are struggling for cash and no longer find the ability to put mainstream funding into them. So if you've got a spare fiver in your pocket, take it out and put it in a box, there's one there. And if you're modern like me with one of these, somewhere there's a scan code and you can put a fiver in. There's no excuse for not having any cash in your pocket. So I hope that you will help to do that sort of thing. Again, to remember, this is an exhibition celebrating the 40th anniversary of the strike. But again, with the Chesterfield Trades Council, with the Unemployed Workers Centre, there are many, many demonstrations that happen in this great town of Chesterfield that are down-to-earth working class struggles and activities, and we need to continue to keep that tradition getting on. Collins mentioned the fact that this is the assembly room belonging to the Borough Council. I'm personally proud of the fact that this has been refurbished to a standard that's usable. It ain't used enough. If you've got any functions on, it's been donated free of charge for the whole month of this exhibition, but if you've got any functions on, go and talk to the Borough Council, they will give you the use of this room. So, to the strike, 40 years ago, most people in this room will have some memories of the fact that there was to be, 40 years ago, a shortage strike. It wouldn't be long. All we wanted to do was keep pits open and save jobs. 12 months later, an industry had been decimated. Communities had disappeared. A way of life that had kept this nation's energy demands and needs up front and in profile just simply disappeared. Everybody in this room, I think, may well have their own individual memories of that strike. I hope that you will share them with colleagues and friends here today and everywhere around. It's interesting, the television started to show a bit of interest in the strike. I actually saw one programme that was a little bit sympathetic. I didn't see many during the strike, but there were one or two, and I don't know whether Paul is here. Ian Pyatt is not here, but he was a young man during the strike, 18 I think he was, and he did an interview with a scout. He phoned me and said, "Is it all right?" I said, "I can't stop you, mate, but be careful what you say." And he said, "I'm not shaking his hand." And he didn't shake hands, but he did it, and I thought he did himself and the miners' union and the whole of the number of men that were on strike for 12 months proud. Well done, young man, proud of you. We are seeing unprecedented police activity today. Unprecedented. Crikey, they should have been around 40 years ago. Yes. And there is something being talked about bent coppers. It's a new phrase, coppers being bent. And they should have been at Orgreave. They should have been in Sheffield when men who had gone simply to do a peaceful picket at a coking plant were being hit with truncheons and batons and trampled with horses and all of that sort of thing, and then getting into a police cell and being charged with travesty of justice. I just don't understand why bent coppers are a new thing. Even today there is a tax on the mine workers. I've just been talking to one of my ex-colleagues over there. The government's still taking money out of the pension scheme. Millions billions of pounds of miners' money invested, and the government takes, I think it's 50% of it. The pension scheme's not bad, but it could be a lot better if that sort of money were being funneled back into the miners' pockets. And what a good job it would do for the economy as well, because it gets spent. Alan Gascoigne's not here. I'm sad he's not here. Is he? But is there? Alan, thanks for the banner. Alan was the Shirebrook branch secretary. I have to say to you, sorry, other branch secretaries, you all had a difficult job to do. But Alan at Shirebrook had perhaps the most difficult one to do of all, right on the nuts boundary, with a division of opinion at the pit. I remember going to, as a full-time official of the union, going to a meeting just after the strike had started, and the Shirebrook welfare was full of miners. Myself, Gordon Butler, no longer with us. Austin Ferris, very much still with us. Is Austin here? Yeah. Austin Ferris, very much still with us. Went into that meeting. Our friend mate, I don't know whether you were, because I didn't like the looks of some of them colliers that were sat there, but Gascoigne said to us, don't worry, I've got all my men at the front. And I knew we were okay, and we were safe. So, them sort of memories and things that trigger you when you get into the pits. I saw the miners' unions, officials attacked through the courts. Butler not with us. Alan wasn't one of the people that would take the court, but Austin himself was there, found guilty in the High Court of spending union funds on union miners and men, and proud to wear a badge of being guilty of spending money to help our members on strike. Proud of that badge. It wasn't pleasant at the time, but it had to be faced, it had to be dealt with. So the union went on with the struggle for 12 months. Even the scabs, ultimately in Nottingham, saw the results of the fact that they had gone to work and their pits were closed in exactly the same way that the pits in Derbyshire, Yorkshire, Durham, Wales, all through the country were closed down. They got their comeuppance in another way. I also remember at the start of the strike, some of the older guys said to me, these young lads will never stick it. They'll not stick it like we used to stick it. How wrong they were. How wrong they were. Again, young Ian, 18. I tell you what, I was freaking when I saw him on picket line. I don't know what the coppers felt like. So I'm proud of the fact that we nurtured a group of young men into trade union traditions, and the way that they operated, in my opinion, was stupendous. Incidentally, Ian did an interview with the telly the other day, and it was great. You should get it up if you can see it. So in those 12 months, so many events happened, and in a short statement like this, it's impossible to list them all. But just to list a few. Dare I not start without mentioning the Women's Action Group. I don't remember a period of time when I've been as proud, except for the last few weeks maybe, of the women that were part and parcel of the dispute in this country. More proud of the women that were part and parcel of the dispute in Derbyshire. Not just in Chesterfield, but in Derbyshire, in every mining village. There sprung up a group of women that fed and nurtured and became politicised in a way that has never been experienced before. And you're feeling the effects on it today. We've got 3 of the prominent leaders of the Women's Action Group in Chesterfield in the front row. A bit of pride again for me. My daughter's here, Cheryl, 18 at the time. Politicised in a way, she makes me look moderate. And I'm really proud and pleased with the fact that the Women's Action Group did the work that they did, raising funds, getting money from places I didn't even know existed. I was treasurer of the union at the time, but they managed to find money in places that I didn't even know existed. Orgreave, still the injustice of Orgreave today. Men that were sacked, lost their job, beaten, trampled on, lost their jobs, never found work again, and still not getting any justice. There is, in fact, in my opinion, a massive, massive demand for a public inquiry as to what went on at Orgreave and the way that as long as I'm able to do anything of that sort. And then sequestration, didn't even know what the word meant. When I was told we'd been sequestered, I had to look quickly down and see if everything was still in place. But the courts took the money away from the Derbyshire Miners Union. They would not allow us to spend that money on sustaining the pickets and the families and the Women's Action Group assistance and all the sort of things that the trade union funds had actually been put together for. So we were sequestered and we were able to get money from sources that today I'm not even going to tell you we got somewhere we got some money from. And then there was the official solicitor. Never heard of him. Was it to him? It might not have been. I always thought it was Thatcher myself, but anyway, the official solicitor. I don't know anybody else that remembers that particular person. So there are very many memories, very many activities that today, 40th anniversary, 40 years on, crikey. Somebody said to me, I've not seen you for 30 years and you don't look a day different. I said, did you tell me I look like this 30 years ago? So 40 years on, a magnificent struggle that lasted for the full 12 months. Everybody in this room that were connected with the industry I know was solid. There are some people that are around that I still don't talk to. I don't even acknowledge. I'm thankful that I've got a family that I can still talk to, and I know there are some divisions in families where brothers don't talk to brothers, brothers didn't talk to fathers, all that sort of thing. So this exhibition will remind those who didn't know what it was about. Exactly what it was about. It'll inform, it'll educate the new generation. Most of them people probably don't know what a lump of coal looks like, or they're going to see a piece because there's a piece in the exhibition. They'll certainly not be able to set fire to it because I think it's under a bit of cover. So Thatcher led that state machine against the miners, led it to a point where the last figures I heard about that was spent on it was billions and billions of pounds that was spent on the dispute just to stop men from doing the job that they wanted to do. There are still some miners and their families that are suffering the effects of that strike. Holly's just walked in and I've been talking about it. That's the young man that was So there's still some miners in the families that are suffering the effects of that strike, the injuries, the diseases that were inherent in the industry. The unemployed workers' centres, advisors, all of the people that do the work that Colin is responsible for overseeing will be around to help and advise. There are benefits that people are entitled to. If you know an ex-miner or the family or the dependents that is seeing financial difficulty or with some illnesses, get along to the unemployed workers centre. They will give you advice. They will steer you through the minefield of benefits advice and make sure that you're okay. The Coal Industry Social Welfare Organisation, not a name that everybody knows about. I'm still a trustee of that. It's the only connection I've got left with the industry. And Steve Brunt here and Johnny Lawson's now a new trustee of that. There's about £400,000 in it. And we're trying to spend it. And we're not getting people coming forward to ask us if we can help them to get a new washing machine or a new vacuum cleaner, or maybe help with a mobility scooter, or the sort of things that people from that era are now beginning to suffer. If you know anybody that's got them sort of difficulties, contact any of us. There are plenty of us around that will direct you to the place to go. And it's grant money. You don't have to pay it back. It's grant money. And I can only remember one, Steve, where we've questioned the validity. The guy had got 2 years service in the industry. I think it was in 1968, and he you wanted 8 grand for something. We questioned it, we paid it, because we've got to spend that money. It's miners' money. It's the money that miners put into a fund to do exactly that sort of thing. So, after this exhibition finishes, Colin's already said it will travel the breadth of the coalfields, Sherwood, Birmingham, Stable, Eckington and others. Don't forget the May Day March. You've got to cover me talking again, sorry about that. But again, the Chesterfield Trades Council need to make sure that we get as many people as possible. It's the biggest May Day March in the country still, I am told, and it needs support. So thank you all for being here on this first day. It took a lot of effort to get this exhibition together. Make sure people come and support this. Thank you.
Ian and he then walked through the door. He not had the opportunity to say this, but I did speak to him directly after the programme came out. And as usual, with anything where you're not on live television, you can be edited. And when they showed him a picture of the men walking back at Island Colliery, they asked him how he felt. And he expressed a number of feelings of pride in the men and what they'd achieved over the year, what they'd done, and anger about having to go back, sadness, but also guilt because there were men who were sacked and imprisoned and they were going back to work. And then he said, but I don't think anybody can call it a victory. And the only thing he put on the television was his last sentence, which completely dismissed what his feelings were when he looked at that picture. So I'm saying that for you, young mate. Steve Brunt was the flying picket organiser at Alvey Colliery, and he's now Alderman Steve Brunt, former Mayor of Chesterfield, so I'm asking him to come forward to speak to you now.
Thank you very much. Can I start by thanking Colin? I mean, we met last year, we got this idea from the women to put this exhibition together. We've worked on it, and worked on it, and worked on it, but nobody more than Colin Hampton. He's been the man that's done it. So 40 years on, where did that go? In fact, 40 years ago this Saturday, John Lawson sat there, we all met in the Square and Compass for the Arkwright Branch NUM extraordinary meeting. It was extraordinary because we used to meet on third Saturday of every month. But this had been called by our branch secretary, Snowy Bradley. What had happened, Corton Wood had took the decision on the Monday to come out on strike, and it started to roll out throughout Yorkshire. We got informed at that extraordinary meeting that Yorkshire pickets would be coming to our pit on the Monday. And we were asked what we were going to do. And I'm proud to say to a man, we are not going to cross a picket line. But more importantly, Snowy, we want you to get out of the Yorkshire pickets and tell them to get back, don't even come, because we're going to picket our pit out on the Monday, and that's what we did. We went to our pit gate that morning, and every single man turned round. We didn't need the Yorkshire pickets, we didn't need those flying pickets. We all knew that we're going to be a short strike, we're going to be over in a couple of weeks, 3 weeks. I decorated the front room. I thought I'd better get this done because I'll be away next week. Remember it. And we were unanimous in our support for it. We were confident. We were confident it was going to be a short strike. And what it was a different strike, because I think it was Dennis Skinner that coined the phrase, and I think it's on the Cold Dole video. It was an honourable dispute. It went about wages, it went about conditions, it went about dust, water, out like that. It was about jobs. It was about our jobs, it was about our children's jobs, and it was about our future, and that's what it was about. Because on that week before Gordon Wood came out on strike, the coal board actually announced a 4 million tonne reduction per year in production. That equated to 20 picks. John's in on it, 20 picks, of which Gordon Wood was one, who'd been given just the previous year a further 5 years of life. So we looked at that, thought, well, who's next? Who's next at chopping block? It could have been any one of us. And we also knew if we were solid, we'd win. We'd won in 72, we'd won in 74, we beat Heath in 74, we managed to get a late government in 74, thanks to the miners' strike. We're invincible. We were known as the vanguard of the working class at that particular time. And so we were confident we were going to win, and we'd be back in 2 or 3 weeks. Look what happened. There we were, 12 months later, in fact 12 months to a few days when I went back. So I'm going to leave it quite short and just finish with a few things that's happening as well as the exhibition. The exhibition will be put back together when we've finished this little soiree. And then on Saturday, this coming Saturday, there's screening, and there's some copies there, there's screening Coal Not Dole. That was made on the 25th anniversary. I'm on it, John's on it, a few more Janet's on it, on that. That's going to be screened here at 10:30 in the morning. On Friday the 15th, at 1:30, I'm going to expand a little bit more on my activities as a flying picket coordinator. I got appointed as the flying picket coordinator because Snowy went and got arrested. Once you've been arrested on a picket line, I don't know whether people remember this, but once you've been arrested, if you were arrested again on a picket line, you were definitely looking at least a week in jail, 2 weeks. And that's why they took a lot of our ads, because they wanted less and less pickets. So I'm going to be talking about that on Friday the 15th, next Friday, 15th. And then on Saturday the 16th, Kate Alvey and Janet Wilson, they're going to be showing a film called Strike Alive and Not Just Tea and Sandwiches, and talking about that and reflecting. And these are all going to be interactive discussions, of course. And finally, the last speaker will be Hilary Cave, who Hilary's in here, I'm sure Hilary's there, who was the NUN Education Officer. And she's going to be leading discussions about the NUN nationally and locally in their preparations and conduct through the strike. So everyone's welcome to attend them. They're on the back of the leaflet there. So I'm going to conclude by saying once more, thank you very much for what you've done, Colin. I've got through this without being too emotional. It does get to me, like it gets to a lot of us. Thank you very much.
Watch the rocks, they're falling daily.
We look around the places where the pits once were, and we see precarious, low-paid, sometimes dangerous agency, 0 hours work. And so that is the result of what happened during the strike. Even the International Monetary Fund, that radical organisation, has produced papers which show that the demise of the power of the trade unions has been the driving force behind inequality throughout the world. It's well known. And that's why we're not just looking back today, we're looking forward. Because we need to revive that spirit of community and solidarity amongst young people today to fight for the rights, to make sure that that trade union movement once again becomes strong and we get money into working people's pockets in order to revive these areas. That's why the unemployed workers' centres are involved.
Oh, when the strike is ended and the victory lanterns shine, singing praise of everyone who held the picket line, singing praise of everyone in exile or in jail, but we'll not forget the women whose courage never failed. So here's to you, Betty, and here's to you, Anne, and 100,000 like you who took an honest stand, and endured any hardship in such war. 100,000 heroines in 1484.
I was just saying, 40 years, where did that go? How did it happen? I was part of a women's movement which grew out of struggle, the like of which I'll never see again. It was quite unique. In February 1984, I'd been involved in Tony Bennet's election campaign, and as part of the Chesterfield Women's Action Group, this group was formed from an idea of Caroline's, Tony's wife, and she suggested we set up an all-women's canvas team. We were very successful. They used to call us the A-team. Tony was duly elected, and a few days later, the miners' strike started. As our group was already formed, we decided we would support the miners in their struggle. As a miner's wife myself, I was 29. I'll let you do the maths. I had 2 small children and a part-time job, pretty normal life really. When it began, we had no idea of what was to come. We'd already felt the effect of the overtime ban from November '83, and little did I realise what a year we would have without my husband's wages. The Women's Action Group, or WAG as we became known, started asking for donations, and we put them in a box in the Labour Club. I remember Margaret saying, when the kitchen at the Labour Club got overflowing with food parcels, she says we'll be having juggernauts next. She couldn't have been more right. We went on the first mass picket in Derbyshire at Bolsover Pit on the 21st of March. We took two pickets and a leaflet inviting women to a meeting the following night. We entitled the leaflet "Women in the Miners' Strike." On the front, inviting women to the meeting, and on the back, details of benefits they could claim. We were astonished how many women were there, and there were even some from Barnsley, and they took ideas back to their own coalfields. More groups were set up throughout Derbyshire, and it became obvious we needed to contact them. We held a meeting at the NUM offices, and representatives of all the groups attended. The group was asked to elect officers, and the Chesterfield women were elected unanimously. The larger group was known as North Derbyshire Women's Action Group. It was agreed that all monies and donations come centrally to Chesterfield and be distributed to the coalfield from there. Each group would let us know how many food parcels they thought they needed, and we would send them out twice weekly in vans we'd begged, borrowed or stolen, driven by pickets who had been arrested and couldn't go on the picket line, as Steve has already explained, or older miners. It was agreed that each family were to receive one food parcel per week. It consisted of £2.50 worth of food. Irish stew, beans, Weetabix, a few tea bags and sugar were the usual offerings. Occasionally there were some treats. Russians sent us sauerkraut. At the heart of the strike, we had 34 food centres. It was a massive undertaking. And not only did we provide food, but babies' cots, clothes, shoes, and toys at Christmas. We outgrew the Labour Club, and eventually Chesterfield Borough Council let us have the Gold Roll rooms. Once the food distribution was running smoothly, we turned our attention to other things. We organised demonstrations, speaking at meetings, picketing and getting arrested. Tony Bennett at Markham Lane Ends for standing still. She was charged with besetting. Maureen Featherstone for singing "I'd rather be a picket than a scab." She was bound over for a year. Janet Wilson kept overnight in a police cell. Just ordinary women, hardly the enemy within. I was lucky, they never got me. We hosted and I chaired the National Women's Group in November when Women Against Pit Closures was formed. The Derbyshire delegates voted against calling it Women Against Pit Closures because we thought it was a bit too narrow and focused on a single issue. Our hope that a national working class women's movement would come out of it. With morale fading in January, the Eckington group suggested we march round all the pits in Derbyshire. Strike Alive in '85 was launched. It snowed and it was freezing, but we kept going. With the help of the South East region of the TUC, we staged International Women's Day on the 8th of March 1985. Thousands of women attended, although the return to work had already been announced. Women speakers came from all over the world. It was phenomenal. For me, up at 4, picketing at Markham, then to work after sorting the kids out, then to the Gold Well rooms in the afternoon, speaking at meetings at night. It was exhausting but exhilarating. A group took to the pickets. Women provided meals, benefits advice, spoke to the press, television and radio. We supported each other and provided the occasional shoulder to cry on. Personally, we struggled, the mortgage company coming regularly to measure the house up, to put it on the market because we were in arrears. I told them I would live in a tent, and I would have done at the time. We once received a gyro for 19p, as I worked part-time, and that was all we were entitled to. Someone gave us a rabbit once, in fact it was Gordon Buckley, and I got to skin it, I didn't. The debt accrued during the strike had an impact for years, but I would do it all again tomorrow. We were fortunate to have a family who supported us and the feeling of community and camaraderie with people who were going through the same thing. We also had thousands of donations from trade unions and individuals amounting to nearly £300,000, along with numerous donations of food, clothing and toys. There are a lot of laughs and a lot of stories to tell. Someone brought 3 live chickens to the Labour Club once. We named them Arthur, Peter, Mick, after the NUM leadership. I can't remember who took them, but somebody did, along with a sack of corn which had arrived with the sauerkraut. From the start, I supported the strike, as not only was this attack on pits, jobs and communities, it was an attack on the NUM. Thatcher's government was determined to destroy the union, and the trade union movement has taken nearly 40 years to recover. For me, this was a momentous time in my life. My parents' generation often talked about before and after the war as a timeline. For me, and I suspect all those involved, having shared a unique time, a shared understanding of what we were fighting. Time is measured before and after the strike. I still believe one day, as Colin has already said, Janet and I were looking through the things we'd saved from the strike, and Janet said, it's nearly 40 years. I said, never. So we contacted Colin and said, can you help us? And actually, all we did was provide him with a few photos and papers and what have you, and he has, the result is this, which is absolutely fantastic. Colin, thank you so much. The reason we wanted to exhibit our photos and share our memories is because this history is important. It's our history, it's working class history, and it needs to be passed to future generations so that to know that it's a good thing to stand by the side of your fellow man, to join a trade union and fight for a common goal and never cross a picket line. I still believe the fight was justified, and I'm very proud of the part I and all the women in the Derbyshire coalfield played.
Don't need fighting back.